Welcome to a homegrown family podcast where we grow the produce and the kids.
Hi everybody, welcome to a homegrown family podcast. I'm your host Joe Mettler, and today we're talking about hunting with my Uncle Bernie. It's that time of year, the fall, first, second weekend of November, and it's hunting time. And I don't know about my listeners here, but in the Mettler household, hunting's been kind of a thing going on for a long time. I know growing up, I was always excited to get all the uncles coming over to the Mettler farm, my dad's farm or my grandpa's farm, to just get together and hunt. So we grew up as young kids, seeing our aunts and uncles hunting and getting together as family and bonding over hunting. And eventually we got involved in the hunting, from a young age, 12, 13. And now we're kind of situated to where we have the Randy crew over at my dad's farm, in addition to my Uncle Bill and some of his kids hunt over there in the shotgun zone. And we got my Uncle Richard and my grandpa and my Uncle Bernie that hunt rifle zone over by my grandpa's old place and some of their property over there just north of us. So I don't know what hunting was like prior to this. And so...
Well, let me tell you.
There you go.
I went hunting with Dad before I was old enough to carry a gun. I had a wooden stick gun, and I would try to keep up with Dad sneaking around in the woods hunting. And I don't remember him ever killing anything when I was with, probably because I was too noisy and kept asking stupid questions. But he let me come with a little wooden gun, and I was hunting with Dad. As your uncles, my brothers got old enough, I was the oldest, so I was actually hunting before it was legal for me to hunt. We had enough land. Dad would give me a gun and say, "Go sit on that rock pile and don't come back until I come get you." Yep. Because there's nothing to worry about. And what are you going to do to a 10-year-old? Yep. But it was always about hunting, but it was always about, probably more so, and as I get older, it's more about the jokes and the stories and the getting together and the giving everybody grief. And there's always a good story. And, as I found out as I've gotten older, that your uncles, their memory is not nearly as good as mine. And they get the facts all screwed up, all the time. But, no matter what side of the story you're on and who's telling the story, there's always one or two things happen. Either you shot a deer or you missed a deer. And those were the stories. It's always fun. As far as my boys are a little bit older than you, so it was my boys first. And we made sure that they were with an adult all the time until they could be trusted. Yeah, and my first hunt I shared in a previous episode called The Turdy Pointer, where I first went out with Grandpa for the first time ever and ended up shooting, my first buck first year. And so you can catch that story. Apparently was deaf and had a death wish, from what I hear. Yep. So if you want to catch that one, go back and listen to that episode. That was a pretty good story. Grandson hunting with his grandpa, so. It's always good time and good stories. And when I first started hunting, there weren't near as many deer here. I remember distinctly that between the age of 12 and 16, I got a doe permit because I was under 16. But you had to apply for doe permit even down here. And now what? If you bow hunt in black powder and go in the early antler season that coincides with youth hunt, you could shoot 6 deer down here now. Yeah. Even just get one of your first regular season tags, you can shoot a buck or a doe. Buck or doe with either or with your one tag, and you can bite 2 harvest tags. So there's a lot more deer now than before. Yeah, we were just checking out the cameras a little bit this evening, to see what's still out there after the early season hunt, and a couple nice 8s, a couple 6s, and then a couple spikes, and full basket stuff. But they're around. So all right, Bernie. So Grandpa taught you how to hunt. You taught your kids how to hunt. Likewise, my dad taught me how to hunt, and hopefully eventually I'll teach my kids how to hunt. We used to do a lot of deer drives, where we chase them out of swamps and things. But due to just the number of volume that hunters that we've had, and safety, we started doing a little bit less of that. That was always scary when you guys were young. We never knew which side of the woods you were going to come out on. Keep it in a line, so you can see the orange on either side of you, left or right. And sure shooting. One come walking out the side. Where's Bob? Where's Bill? Oh, there he is. It's probably a good thing we don't do much driving anymore.
Yeah. I remember I had to do the Okefenokee, and most of my siblings hadn't had to do it.
That's a sad thing. That's a rite of passage, the Okefenokee.
I remember after I went through that, I'm like, why am I even carrying a gun?
Oh, I never did when I walked through it. Although we have shot deer in the drives in that place because they'll turn around and run right at you or sneak through you. For every deer we ever pushed out of there, I'm 100% positive 3 went through us and turned right back around. It was so thick.
Yeah, you can see more than 20 feet in front of you in some places. So, similar to my family, where we have quite a few siblings, I think I mentioned in previous episodes here that there's 5 brothers and 1 sister. And so there's got to be some stories that you had growing up as kids to your hunting. You have maybe your first deer story that you have, or just a funny coincidence type of story, or
I got all sorts of them.
One say, "Oh, I shot him." No, I shot him.
Well, a lot of times, and especially in them drives, we'd get different people would shoot at the same deer. They come running down in front of you, in front of the drivers. But one of my first deer. I was maybe 12 or 13, and I was not far off the road. I was sitting on a rock pile. The rock pile isn't there no more, but where the corral is, where you turn in my driveway, on Getz's then, there was a rock pile about 50 yards up into the field. And I'm sitting on that rock pile, and they're shooting to the north of us. That land that Richard owns now used to belong to different people. They were shooting, and I could see a deer running down the fence line, popping its head up once in a while in that tall brush.
Yep.
And so I peeled off, and I had a single shot 12 gauge with slugs. Because Dad believes in me learning, taking your time and instead of spraying, hitting what you're aiming at. And I run down to the fence, and the thing popped up in front of me, and I shot it.
One and done.
And then I look, and there's a pickup truck driving down the road, and it just see me shoot. I was in the ditch hiding. So I was off the road, so I was safe. I was all right there. But this pickup truck's, and I'm just kind of standing there, and the guy pulls up, and he gets close to me, and I see a badge on the side of the truck. It was my meeting with the infamous Art Tonder, who was like a legend around here for a game warden at that time. And I'm like, oh. And I hadn't even got to my deer yet to do anything. And he says, "Seen you shooting. Did you kill anything?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, right over there, little buck." He goes, "Oh, you just can see your license?" And at that moment, I remembered my license was sitting on the kitchen table.
Oh, no.
And I must have turned white because he looks at me and goes, "You do have a license?" And I go, "Yeah." "Where is it?" "It's sitting on the kitchen table." He says, "Where do you live?" And I, just down over here, the driveway right over there. He says, "Well, I'll wait. You best run home and get it. Get back here."
He had to run. He didn't give you a ride or nothing.
No, I ran half a mile home, grabbed the license, turned around, run back, and he was still sitting there waiting for me. But then he was pretty cool because I'm sweating and panting, and looks at my license and says, "Well, let's go look at that deer." And he went over, and it was a nice little 6, nothing to brag about. And he shows me where to tag it right and helps me field dress it and drag it out to the ditch for me. And he says, "Well, I gotta go." Okay. Next time, remember your license.
Yep. Yeah, quite the experience for you.
Yeah, it was like, there's all sorts of stories.
One of the ones that I recall, we were driving that stuff. It was the neighbors to the south or to the west of the bigger meadow hay ground out on the highway. That little woods off to the west.
Oh, yeah, Johnson's.
Yeah, so we're going to drive that, and I was walking again, and I don't even think a shot was fired the whole drive. I don't think we got a deer. But I remember coming out of there, I think it was Bill, says, "I got a grouse, or pheasant or something." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, one flew right at me. I stuck my hand out." He fell down. So we got back to the house, and there he is, cleaning out his grouse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not even a shot fired.
Bill's more stubborn than smart. I've seen him wound a deer and chase it back and forth through the swamp for hours. You're not going to let go.
It is one of the pities of hunting is that sometimes you don't get a great shot.
Yeah.
And then you got to go find it. There was one, was it last year or the year before? I had a doe that I shot about 70 yards. I think I counted it off at with a slug, which is getting out there with open sights. And I know I hit it because it started running, and I tracked blood for quite a while. I must have tracked it for 3/4 of a mile, and I'm starting to hit like no blood at all. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go in and get lunch. Dad's like, let's give up on it. I'm like, yeah, it must have just been a long shot, and then I plugged it up and just kept on going. But after lunch, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go back out there because it's this low wooded spot. I went down there. Sure enough, there it was, and was able to get it. So it's always nice when you can track them and get them. And
that was the one thing I learned when I started going out west hunting, when you start spending big money for licenses and travel and all that kind of stuff. An extra couple boxes of shells pushed through your rifle at the range is worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you owe it to the deer. I mean, and that's one thing I was pushing hard with my kids later. And like my grandson, him and my son go out and they go out shooting all the time. And he's actually a very good shot, and it's good.
Yeah, I've been encouraging my siblings too to go out, and I've been doing a little more of that recently here too.
The days of Friday night digging through the junk drawer looking for shells so you can go hunting in the morning, it should be done.
Yeah. Yep. You're practicing.
It's just
say that Grandpa did one shot
thing to do.
Yep.
But that was my first deer. I think was with that old single shot. I think that one with Tonder was the second or the first. I can't remember. That was. But
your memory's better than your brother's.
It's okay. Well, it still is. Oh yeah. But I remember I walked through. Dad and I drove up. It was just me and Dad hunting, so I was young. So it had to be one of our first deer because Randy, your dad started hunting,
shortly
after me.
Yeah.
And again, we were on Johnson's, and he saw a bunch of deer running into Rabs to the west. So he drove up there and asked old Mr. Rab if he could send me through, thinking I would chase deer back out to him.
Mm-hmm.
There was this big opening in the woods, and it was tall grass, and there was nothing grazing it. And I see a deer. I see a buck. And I shoot. And it runs off. And I'm having my single shot. I was nuts. And I throw another shell in. And it comes back. It stands in the same spot. Run off west, turn around, come back, stop at the same spot, pointing east. And I shot again. And this time he turns and he starts running straight at me. And I didn't know if he was charging me or had no clue. Obviously, now looking back on it, he just didn't know. The wind was right and he didn't see me and didn't know. Anyway, he comes running. And I put another shell in, the single shot. Now, this is the third shot, my single shot. He gets to be about 10 yards from me. I shoot again. And he does a cartwheel and lands like 5 feet from my feet. And he's kicking around. And I put another one in and I shoot him in the head. And then I come walking out to Dad and he goes, "You running into somebody else? Sounds like an automatic was in there. I heard 4 shots." No, that was me.
I got one.
On which shot? The 4th.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, some of them close quarters. Like in that big swamp down by below Slipka's there. I remember driving that one time, and like you mentioned, sometimes the deer, you're trying to get them to go a certain direction, but they oftentimes come back due to the wind direction, go between hunters and things. And I don't know, it must have been like 15, 16. And buck popped up, and I could see it was a buck, but I'm like, okay, well, I'm not shooting right now because I don't know exactly where my people are. Yeah. I look over, and okay, there's one. Goes in between us. I kind of wait till a deer runs after.
Past us, yeah.
Went past the line of everybody, turn around, and then at that point, it's like, 15 feet. It's so close. And then I shot and, cartwheeled, and I was
done.
Like, I was like, yeah! But
it's nice when things like that happen.
It doesn't happen all the time.
No.
Now, my brother Michael, however, has had a pretty good string of luck here the last couple of years.
Oh, he's got a horseshoe up his butt.
I can't believe it. Like, early season, he sat in his deer stand, right away, because he's like, I'm going to be able to get one. I think he ended up having a buck run behind him or something. Well, he can only shoot a doe, antlerless, so no luck there. I don't think he saw anything in that stand the rest of the time that weekend. But come opening season, day of opener morning, he'll have a buck or two run right past him.
Good spot.
Yeah, it's like a little tunnel there that goes between the big swamp and.
Well, there's natural areas that they like to go, and if they start getting pushed, they run through them.
And that's one of those spots. Yeah, David's stand's pretty good for that too. Yeah, he's got a little bit of a wall going there of trophies. But,
well, David's stand, is that the one down below the orchard?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh yeah,
that's a little pinch point too.
Yeah, I've sat in that one before.
Yeah, he's put up a ladder stand there now, a little bit closer to the swamp side.
Oh yeah.
So that way, if the wind's coming up from going to the east or to the west, that he can sit there instead and not be.
That's my job tomorrow. I'm putting up a box stand up on my new property, our new old property.
Yeah, Bernie, he's moving back into the area here and bought some land from my grandpa. And was it Strawberry Hill?
That's what we called it, yeah.
So that place there is a place where he's now building, and it's a nice little oak grove patch there. Do you have any experience, or like why'd you pick that spot? Like experience hunting there that kind of brought you back to that spot?
I shot back in the day when I felt like walking through the swamp to get there. I shot 3-4 deer back there. From my garage door, the big door, straight north, there's a big forked oak tree about 30 yards away.
Yeah.
I was leaning up against that, and I shot a nice little fork, probably 100 yards in that clearing to the northwest there.
Oh, yep.
And I shot another one on the other side. There used to be a tree that's dead and gone now, over more towards the corner, sort of ditch to the northeast. Oh, yeah, we shot deer in there because we would sit there when we drove the Okefenokee, and they'd come running out of there. I'll probably shoot one. If I get lazy, I'll sit and drink coffee on my front porch, and they'll run right down the fence line. 50 yards from me, I bet, if I wanted to.
Yeah, well, right after the guys just to the...
Yeah, the guys that bought the Okefenokee.
Yeah, they'll kick them out in the morning. You'll be sitting there.
Oh, yeah, because they can't get in there without kicking deer out.
Yep. Yeah.
So if you're there, and if I have heat, all I need is a coffee pot and a cot. It ain't quite ready to oblivion yet. But if I get heat...
Next week.
I'll be hunting that house.
There you go. That'll be nice.
And I'd only have a 150-yard walk to where I'm building my permanent stand, too.
I suppose, yeah, if you're building a stand, hopefully sit in next weekend.
Yeah, I could always sit in my old... I mean, I hate to give up that stand on the end of the pines.
Yeah.
I've shot so many deer. Yeah, this is a good story.
All right, there you go.
This isn't that long ago either. This is when I was out pipelining. I got laid off 4 o'clock on Friday before opener. And I was down in southern Minnesota, so I had to drive all the way up to Embarrass, get my gear, go to bed for a couple hours, and come down. And my son and my grandson had come down the night before, and they're having this conversation with my cousin Mike and cousin Noah. Dad'll never make it down here for opening in the morning. He ain't slept in his own bed in 3 months. He just drove out there. He ain't going to make it down there. Well, I'd have been down in time to make coffee, but I hit icy roads from McGregor all the way to darn near Little Falls. But I made it before legal shooting light in my stand.
Yep.
And I text Mike because I walk right by him. I said, hey, that was me. Oh, I won the bet. I said, what bet? And he explains to me through text, Well, Josh is a quarter mile away on the other side of the 80.
I can't quite see you.
He can't see me.
Yeah. And
before it's light enough that he can see me, the buck walks out. Boom. I saw it drop. I punched up Josh on my phone. Good morning. He goes, damn it. And then I hadn't even got down to inspect the buck, and I had my 2 management tags. Well, a dry doe comes trotting in from the other side. Boom. That says number 2, 1 tag left. Before 8 o'clock, I had 3 deer down. And then I texted him, do you want me to feel any of yours? No.
He hadn't seen anything.
He hadn't shot a thing. He saw the second doe I shot. He saw walking down the fence line or the ditch line, but it was too far away for him.
Oh, funny.
And then, that was a good spot. I mean, I'm well over 100% at that spot.
That's awesome.
Because then later that evening, then we're sitting in the same spot again, and I have a buck coming down, and I get out of my stand and stand up on top of the berm of the ditch to hopefully scare it towards Josh. And it keeps coming at me. And Josh is watching it. See me standing there like that. He didn't think I saw the deer, and he's watching through his binoculars. And it gets within about 30 yards of me, and I go, huh! and it turns and runs the wrong way. It can't go to Josh. And Josh goes, "Why didn't you shoot it? I have a tag." I said, "You told me you didn't want to fill your tag." Shame on him for doubting me.
Yep. Oh, fun.
The only opener that I can remember ever missing, I was in Bob Marshall Wilderness in northwestern Montana elk hunt. And I missed opener. That was like 4 years ago. 5 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, I'm fortunately going to miss my first opener,
yes.
I'm pretty sure.
Now, there, you talk about the importance of deer hunting to the Mettler clan. You would be ostracized from this family if you planned a wedding or a birthday
Yep.
on opening a deer hunting. Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, I have a friend of mine who's getting married.
Yeah.
And obviously doesn't hunt.
Not that good a friend.
Yeah, so I'm going to that. And I guess this is a good time to mention, too, that I could chuck it down like Bernie and try to make it, the Saturday afternoon sit or whatever. But I'm also getting ready to head off to Europe here the week after, so I want to spend some time packing and getting ready for that. So I'll have a couple delay before I get these other next episodes out. You probably won't, after this next one, see or hear another episode probably till mid-December. I mentioned that in the podcast intro, too, is that this is kind of a fun thing I do. Sit down with some family members sometimes, talk about some different stuff that's important to us. And family's important, and vacationing is important.
You know what you should do?
Yeah.
You should you won't be here this year.
No.
But you should set up some Saturday night off from the boning table. And you would that'd be like a comedy hour.
That's true. Set up the microphone.
With all the chirping that goes on.
Yeah, and so that's one thing is that we shoot our deer, but then we also trim it out and, cut the loins out and the chops and all these different parts of the meat. Birdie's probably one of the better individuals at cutting some of those parts out and things like that. Has a little more experience in that department.
2 years at the packing house in Long Prairie.
Yep. So, but yeah, so that would be a good intro or a good episode to have. Just have it.
Did I tell you? I almost forgot what I almost forgot in my garage, the new garage.
Yeah. On
the new house.
Yep.
That's going to be the place to butcher deer when I get it all done. Heated, and almost forgot to put eye hooks in the ceiling so that we could hang deer.
Yep.
Oh my Lord. That would have really sucked digging through all that insulation we blew in today to put them in after the fact. I'm glad I remembered that.
Yeah, that would have been a crucial mistake.
Because, I'm going to have hot and cold running water. I could throw out a couple tables.
Oh, yeah.
Nice and bright and clean.
Yeah, so that'll be you guys' for the rifle zone up here. We'll probably swing over to Bernie's, and we'll probably still be over in Dad's barn there in our little cider house / meat processing room and stuff, so it's not too bad.
It doesn't sound like that should go together all that well. Cider house, meat processing. Sounds like
we clean it up.
Sounds like a Halloween movie.
We clean it up pretty good.
It sounds like a Halloween movie. But
yeah, that's not always a favorite part, cutting it all up and stuff, but that's one of the good family bonding parts.
Oh yeah,
of the day.
That's when you get together and you visit and you BS and you
share
give
the stories of the weekend.
Give everybody a little grief and.
Yep, those who shot Bambi, got to get ostracized.
Oh yeah, that's the one time I was sitting on David's stand. Nicholas said, "Oh, I nicked the doe. So you guys were doing a drive and I don't know, because I'm an old guy, I guess. They told me, well, you can sit over here, and you guys did a drive, and this fawn comes with it. Right where Nicholas said he shot it, in the hind leg.
Oh.
Comes limping across, and I'm going, well, it's wounded. So I shot it.
Yep, yeah.
And it's like the guys all come showing, yeah, I got Nicholas's doe. That ain't my doe. And I flip over and says, where'd you say you hit your doe? And there's a slug hole in the hind leg right below the hock. And I'm going, this is your doe.
This is the size of a small dog. Yeah. I'm tossing it in the back of your pickup with one hand. I picked it up
with one arm and threw it over my shoulder and carried it up to the truck.
Yeah.
But yeah. Whoa, no. You said you wounded it right there. What are the odds? 2 wounded deer running around with the same hole in the same spot.
Yep.
No.
Yep.
This is your big doe.
Yep. Yeah, there's one time I did get a Bambi. It's a pretty far shot.
It happens.
But, as far as it's hard to tell if it's a doe or a fawn. It was by itself.
Yeah.
So I was like, it's by itself. It's got to be a doe, right?
Yeah.
Nope. I went up to it, and it was pretty small.
Yeah.
That's one of Mom's rules, is that we try not to shoot the Bambis. And if we can, try to shoot a doe that's not with a Bambi. But that'll usually be like the last evening. Opening morning, usually.
You guys get a couple here this year on early doe?
Yeah. Michael got one, and...
because Liz said you guys were looking for one in the swamp.
Yeah, Liz got one. Yeah, because she got behind the barn and then it ran up into the swamp and they had to go fishing for it a little bit.
This barn?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Or maybe she might have been on David's side.
I don't know. Yeah, she was walking back with her kids and somebody shot one and went into the swamp to try to find it. You had to go fishing for it?
I think they had to go fishing for it a little bit. Like not with the canoe or anything, but they had to get the mud boots on.
Yeah.
But David, I think, spooked that one to her, so it was a running shot too, so she was already going, but yeah.
That was the one thing I had to give Wyatt crap about last year. Put him in the best stand we had, and 4 of us walked this little patch of wood. 5 deer ran within 10 feet of him in the stand, and he didn't shoot because they wouldn't stop and stand still. Oh, he got rode like a carnival pony the rest of the weekend.
Yeah.
And now I hear he's practicing. He says, well, how do you practice shooting that running deer? I said, the same way Dad told me. You take a piece of plywood, put a big circle in it, stuff it into a tire, and roll it down the hill.
Yep.
And you stand halfway down the hill, and you shoot at it.
Yep, my dad did that to me one year.
Yeah, that's how you learn how to shoot moving targets.
I definitely didn't have any holes in it. He picked a really steep hill, and it was going pretty quick.
Oh, well, you got to start with, just like skiing, you got to start with the bunny hill.
Yeah. Nora and her family are pretty big into hunting, too, and that's my wife, and they're pretty particular, I think, about getting their shots clean. You know, they basically don't shoot anything running.
I've passed up some shots, but no, last year, the buck I got, I had 30 yards, and he was running full bore, and he was only 50 yards away, and it was just a swing and squeeze. And
well, that's what I tell Nora. I'm like, hey, as long as you're comfortable with making those shots and you have a time to make the shot still.
Yeah. A lot of times, if you have too much time to think about it, you screw it up.
True. But yeah, it comes down to the experience of the hunter, if they're used to practicing like that. But
nobody should make a shot they're not comfortable with. That's just good ethics.
Yep. Best deer practices.
My kid, who's, some sort of long range, got this 308 and go out on the range and shoot 400 or 500 yards, won't shoot over 200 yards at a deer.
Who's that, Josh?
Josh.
Oh.
And it's like, my longest shot here, I was in his stand the second weekend, and I had to wait. There was a buck chasing a doe, got up in some long grass on the 80, and he was heading towards the highway. And a semi drove by the highway, and they were in the ditch. And he stopped and looked at the semi broadside. And once the semi went by, I kind of looked my head up, saw there was no cars coming, and I shot. And I dumped him in the ditch. 410 yards.
410 yards. Wow, that's pretty good. You basically aiming top of shoulders at that point?
No, I have a scope.
Adjustable scope?
Well, not adjustable. It's what they call them, a BDC, bullet drop compensator.
Oh yeah, so you dial it to a certain amount of yards.
No, there's no dials. There's 4 X's.
Oh.
You got your main crosshair, then there's 3 more. The main one is 100, then the next one's 200. You sight it in with the same ammo. As long as you use the same ammo you sight it in. If you sight it in right at 100, you put it on the 400X, and it's going to hit where you're pointing at.
Nice.
I learned that animal pun.
Yeah, I know with my 30-06 I have, I know I'm 2 inches high at 100, right on at 200.
Yeah.
And then
you can do it that way too.
I mean, I just know.
If you shoot enough, that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
But
shotguns and iron sights.
Yeah.
It's a little tougher.
I can't use iron sights no more.
Anything over 50 yards in an iron sights, you're aiming at the whole body of the deer.
Yeah.
It's tough. But so I put a scope on my shotgun. The oldest siblings that has a scope on my shotgun. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if a guy spends the money and gets a rifle barrel and a good scope, you're good for 75 yards.
Yeah, I'd say maybe even 100. But in Minnesota, in these woods, you're not going to get a shot at 100 anyways.
No.
But I know I have a couple lanes that are like right around that 70, 80,
Yeah.
which I'm comfortable with my scope, but I don't know if I'd poke that far with my...
Iron
I
sights?
did the one time and I had to go chase it for a while.
No, it's all good.
Anyways, I always enjoy going out and hunting. I'm definitely sad that I'm going to miss this year. And
You have yet to begin to hear about this.
I lived in Alaska for 2 seasons of deer hunting, and I came back both years in Washington when I was living out there. I came back when I was in Oregon, Montana, all those places. I always came back. And here I am, like 2 hours away from home.
Some clown's getting married and you're missing deer hunting. Wow.
Yeah. So I'm going to miss out. But it's always a pleasure hunting with you, Bernie. Definitely learned a thing or two along the way, I'm sure. And Bernie, he's recently retired, building his retirement house. And he served in the law enforcement for 30 years?
30 years.
30 years? Yeah, so thank you for your service for that as well, up in the northern Minnesota. So thank you to all your law enforcement out there. It's not always the easiest place and time to be doing that type of job anymore. So appreciate all of you out there who do that. Yeah, otherwise, for those of you guys who are hunting this week, be safe and good luck.